Good morning. Welcome to the stream. So I tested out, I think everybody here is aware of my idea. So ChatGPT can already do superimposition, and it's awesome. So I would recommend, I have a prompt that I'm using, and you can have separate chats with ChatGPT, so you can have different scenarios separated by chat if you'd like, or keep it in one. It just depends. But now, granted, if you're like scared of AI, which don't, but you know, you might not feel comfortable utilizing it, whatever, I would just do it if I were you. ChatGPT thinks it's a good idea. I explained it to ChatGPT, and they're like, wow, that could have lots of applications. That sounds cool. And it's very, very neato, and I highly recommend it. So far, I've got my own self-insert in the Star Trek universe that I'm using, and I've also got an elven tree village thing that I am a warrior for. So both of those are working very well. If I think of other ways to apply this, I'm just kind of noodling around with it. Yep. And eventually AR could be involved, is just what I've thought for quite a while. Even before this idea got to the point that it's now gotten to, I've thought about how AR could be helpful for autistic folks. And our ability to imagine things, potentially, instead of anchor things to parts of our brains that we don't use very well. Yeah, so I'll include an area on the Discord eventually for this whole thing, and like the prompt that I use and all this stuff and anything that I learned. My dog wants to go outside. Does anyone need to brush their teeth? I do. I took a shower though, so that's cool. And I just did all my scheduling of my streams for the week, so hooray, I did something. So if you need to brush your teeth, like, this would be a good time to do that. And also, I'm just going to throw on... Well, I guess I look fine. It's just, yeah, it just looks a little silly right now. I forgot to take that off. Whoops. I need water, too. Okay, so go brush your teeth or something. In fact, here. A whole new Jane. Not really, I'm just the same Jane. Except it's a different day. That's okay. You ready for this? I bet you're not. It's gonna look super pro. There you go. I'll be right back. I'm gonna turn that off. Looked like an ad for Housekeepathon. Like a weirdly badly figured out ad. I'll be right back. Okay, hi. I'm back. What's up? Welcome in. Alright, how's it going, everybody? Is it going tough? Is it going rough and tough? Rough week, oh no. What's going on with the rough week? Is there, let me think about here's how I would frame it. Hold on. Hold on, give me a sec. I'm still working on some brain stuff today. I didn't finish the video I wanted to, but that's okay. All right. Better question. Hold on. Where did you end up going this week that you didn't want to go to? And where would you like to go to next? And what about that place that you ended up? What about it was not cool? And you could have been like, I ended up going nowhere. I wanted to go somewhere. I wanted to be somebody. I wanted to do stuff. Hey, go track. Go track. I'm going to track. But first, I'm going to do a stretch thing that I want to do. I'm going to do it off camera, but I'll yell at y'all. Okay? So, I'll be right back. I'm trying to do more movement stuff. And I wanted to do this after my shower, and I didn't. So I'm going to do it now. I've been singing A Whole New World But Stupid, where, like, I don't know, I was like, you know the part where it's like, don't you dare close your eyes, where she was like, don't you, wait, what was I singing? How dare you tell me to do what to do, I'm jumping off this magic carpet ride, and then she just like leads to her death. Ah! Don't mind me. I'm unhinged. Whoa. I'll be right back. I'm going to read the chat in a sec. Hey, I'm going to get to my own chat library. Me? Nope. My channel? How do I get to my channel? I don't know how to do anything. Ugh, how do I do things? My channel? More channel. Here we go. Your channel. Live. Alright, now I'm in the chat. Cool. Hi! You can go back to sleep after. Anyways. So, yeah. I'm doing a stretch thing that I need to do because I'm working on movement skills again. After a long, stupid hiatus because of the pandemic. Okay, ow. Yeah, this is pathetic. As flexible as I get, maybe. Oh, actually, I guess it's not that bad. Ugh. I'm just making sure my hips are mobile because Bowery. Anyways, okay, so let's start using our thinking about the life and times of ourselves. So, last week is over. Don't worry about it, right? Let's start up anew. Start fresh. But is there anything that you learned yesterday that you'd like to take forward into the week? I learned that ChatGPT is rad for my idea, and I'm going to keep using that. That was pretty neato. So I say I've learned that. Just checking something. Is that as open as it goes? I guess so. Odd. Okay. There we go. What? Better. Okay, I'm back. Like, my body is a bit of a prison, but I'm doing the best I can. Okay. Can you talk more about how that metaphor is explaining? Can you, like, explain that metaphor to me, basically? Like, give me a little bit of, like, what's analogous to the prison part. And then let's unpack that a little bit. I'm going to start doing movement classes on here because it's not Twitch and I'm not afraid. So we can start doing those finally. So that's an option. Did you see Bunny's diorama? Nope. Not yet. Let's go look. Oh, also, oh, that's cute. Oh, wow, look at how cute it is. Okay, yeah, I can work on that. Give me a little bit of time to get it because I am waiting for a paycheck. But yes, I think I can do that. Oh my god, what is this? Oh my god, how cute. Huh? Oh, look at this. Wait, I'll let it load. Hang on. This has to load because I may. Okay, anyways. I need a bit more ability to figure out. Oh, I already read that. Okay. Okay. Let's go over to... this. Death Shaft Bombs. Yeah, Death Shaft Bombs. That's what we're doing. I want my water. Where did I put it? Ow. Why did I say ow? I, like, barely displaced an object with my pants, and I said ow. Doesn't even make sense. It's very cute. I look at now. Oh no. Oh wow. Oh my god. Wow. How? Okay, yeah. I'm gonna listen with sound and everything because I need to hear the explanation, but I'm already like, no way. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna do that. That's a treat for me. Alright, so let's do this first and then I can get rewards. Alright, come over to Fresh Week with me if you need to do this also. I usually change this here. So, blip. Easiest way to do it. Keep it kind of current. Okay, grab this. Pardon me. Let me go here. Let me paste. Okay, I got dressed. Oh, I have to do that today. That's fine. Okay, Command C. I ate. I did that with Merlin, so if I do a morning one, I'm gonna give myself it. Honestly, I'm gonna give myself that. It's not much, but if I do that every morning, I'll give myself it. My little regain flexibility vibe. Well, maybe not regain, but like reactivate. I don't think I've really lost too much, but I need to move now or else I will. Too often, no matter what I do, say, learn, I still lack the ability to connect to people or help friends when I wish I could assist if they need it. Is there some reason why, like, you'd have to be that person for other people? The poo emoji? Oh, it's not that bad. It's just for, so I took this from occupational therapy. So dress, we split it into two. Eat, ambulate. Ambulate, I gave myself a bonus one because I have dance goals and stuff, other movement goals. Toilet, hygiene, we split hygiene into showers and brushing your teeth, or like baths or whatever. This is just toilet. Like, it's just toilet. It's a cute thing I made for it. So some people have toilet support needs. So occupational therapy applies to anybody who has disability, potentially. Yeah, so it's just, I mean, if you don't have any toilet impairments that you need to adjust for, then you just get it for free, which is most of us. But one day you might actually need something here, and there's no shame in that, right? So it's actually like I'm like pushing back a little bit because, like, it can be embarrassing to have toilet support needs. So we should just be mindful of that. Like, you could have needed toilet support needs your whole life. Some people do, right? That's fine. Doesn't make anybody embarrassing or something. We just like poop jokes in our society, and I understand that, but we also can be, overdoing it a little bit. Shaft, let's see, shopping, housekeeping, I did that yesterday. You know why we overdo it? Because we have super male-centric culture, and disgust is part of, like, that humor system, but it can have problems because male-centered culture developed to uphold certain institutions via ideologies that are not super cool. I'm a feminist. Can you tell? Copy, paste. I slept. Finances, I'm not worrying about right now. My friend is dealing with abusive, well, not quite caretakers, but people who assist her. I'm not sure I can help well with that. She also, oh, geez, yeah. I mean, there's very little you can do there. I mean, you can just, like, keep encouraging her to find additional resources and to make, plans to get away from the abuse. Well, maybe not make plans is the best way to put it, but to, like, look for additional resources that can help her to get away from an abusive situation, despite various hurdles. Israel's not, like, the worst place to live either. I mean, it depends a little bit on, like, what's going on culturally in her situation for obvious reasons, but there's a lot of progressive nonprofits that probably would be helpful for somebody in that kind of situation in that area of the world. They're not detached from those sorts of resources. Wasn't trying to make light of any. No, you're fine. You're totally chill. It's, I don't, we're all enculturated in that, so I sometimes have to push back at it, but I'm not actually pushing back at any individual person. It's something that I've also, sat down and thought about over and over again because of how rare it is for us to stand up against that culture, because we're not supposed to, right? Like, so I'm not standing up against you. I'm standing up against the culture that we all feel bullied into participating in excessively, because otherwise we get made fun of, right? It's like, oh, you're not cool. Man, fuck that. So yeah, so it's more like, come over to my side of this fence, I promise. Even though some people will make fun of you for being kind. Fuck that. Yeah, so don't worry about it. But I hope it was interesting to think about. I did some food prep today. Good for me. It's not easy. It would be really nice to do this. It would be. This actually did happen, so that's cool. Ooh, maybe I can see if, make a note about that. I'm gonna make this smaller for this one. Let's go down to like 14 and say, Well, I was calling it a story. Story prompt. We'll call it a story prompt. Also, I'm gonna need to make this loop. I thought I did. What? Bruh. Oh, it's not. Okay. Okay, and that's too big still. Okay. It's too big. Okay, smaller that. Oh, that's very small. Oh well, that's fine. Being, understanding, nurturing equals feminine, right? Yeah, right, exactly. Therefore, you can't be, well, you can't, it's not even nurturing, right? You can't be somebody that notices other people's discomfort over your own entertainment. It's better to be entertained yourself than to notice that somebody might be in some sort of pain. Maybe they like being in pain. Maybe they find it sexy. Like, oh, sorry. Anyways. The toy phone picture above the rabbit makes me think I must not forget to call my bunny later. Oh, that's cute. Your bunny will be sad if you don't. My hyperfocus and proprioception issues combine to give me some amount of toilet needs. I just need to remind myself not to put off going to the bath. Yeah, I can agree with that, actually. Yes. You just bit down on the string and I did not laugh too loud. Yay, thank you. I appreciate that. That, you know, we're in the pit of despair. We bake cookies, we eat the cookies. The cookies make us calm down and feel okay with it. Because all you can do is like, you know, stare at where we are, laugh hysterically, soothe yourself with a cookie, get back to work. That's all we can do. It's a wild situation we find ourselves in. Oh, humanity. You ding-dongs. Alright, so I got that one. I did really good with this yesterday. Soothing was like on point yesterday. Stem soothing sort of vibe. This, oh, actually I did get this yesterday. I'm definitely making that one. And yes, and also that. I know that I did my pills, so I'm just gonna like, I know that I did that. And also this has been fine. And I don't know what else I've been doing. I didn't track, so, but I know I did those, so I'm just gonna make sure yeah. Cookies, and I meditate on chocolate chips. That's not a bad idea. This morning I said to myself, pit of despair is accurate. Thank you. Thank you, I appreciate that. It's stuck for me, so I definitely have found it to be, you know, continuing in its utility, even as my other models develop and get to be more intricate, sophisticated, accurate, whatever. It's like, oh, it still works. Yep. That one's got staying power, unfortunately. Oh, if only I had learned that I should retire it for something less bleak. Oh, well. Okay, so let's go work on my, spatial wall. Yeah, went off the wall internally. That's okay. Yeah, have a good read in bed. Mental time travel calendar. That's right, I changed it. It's a mental time travel calendar. That sounds way cooler also, and is more accurate. If confusing. Like, I realize that people are gonna be like, what? But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Oh, I guess I can just... Yeah, I'll just edit it. That's fine. Or wait, shit. I might need more money. I don't... No, I won't. I'll just edit it. I set the money so that I couldn't, like, do too many things, or else I'll run out of money in the household. So I can't, like, edit the thing so much that, like, I'm adding too many activities. Kind of works out. Alrighty. So, yeah. You want to hear about the room that I wish I could have? That reminds me. I want a bedroom, but like, hear me out. You're like, but you already have that. Everyone has that. No, 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 they don't. No, they don't. I want a room where the door, and usually doors open into the room. I don't know why that is, but I want a room where the door is going to open out away from the room, so it'll open into the hall. You see what I'm saying? And then you open the door and it's just a bed. Like immediately bed. Like wall to wall bed. Do you see where I'm going with this? And then the walls are going to have like inlaid, I don't know how to say that, but like shelving with like books and like maybe a TV or whatever. You know what I mean? Just like all the stuff that you could ever want lining the whole thing. And not like right next to the bed, because you want stuff like falling on the bed, but like, yeah. And then you just roll around on it. Like it's a bed. It's just a bed. The whole thing is just a bed. You just climb up on there and you just like, woo. So I want a bedroom. Period. And that's all that can happen. Like I honestly don't understand why this isn't how we already do it, but it's not, and it's a fucking bummer. I don't see how I would not want that. Well, but like, okay, a room full of bidets, like you only have one butt, right? Okay, but like a bedroom, like, you know, you can just roll around the whole damn thing. Like, how could that not be the most comforting, soothing, wonderful place to ever be? I don't see any flaws. I don't see any excess. Like, how can you not relax in a giant bed? You're like, man, this room. How? I want it to be like a soft bed too. So it's like, you just like, anyways, but personally, that would be what I would go for. It's not for everyone, and I understand that. However, I still think it's a really good idea, and I want it. Alright, let's update this part. Whoopsie. It's gonna be hard to deal with. Alright, where does this belong? I don't even know. I guess not there, because... yeah, it must go there, I think. Actually, I'm not sure. I guess I'll put it here, though. I think that's where it should go. Uh-oh. Actually, you know how I find this out is by looking at the calendar. Is that true? Is that one that starts up? Nope. Or yeah, no, it is. Okay, yeah, that's accurate. Okay, cool. So then that is right. So that'll be April? April? Yeah, April. I know how months work, kind of. Oops, do I? Wait, what? What did I just do? Oh, yeah. Got it. What's going on over here? How did you get there? Weird. Okay. There's a rain pain, but too often I feel like it's the only way the puzzle of life fits together. Like, there will always be some pain, and if there isn't, people are horrified just as much at you. Well, pain is necessary. You know what I mean? So, does it count as cookies? I ate chocolate chip waffles this morning. It's closer to cake, but sure. I'll take pastries. in general. It's kind of a stretch to call it a pastry, but it's pretty close. I don't know if I'm the arbiter of this, but if you ask, that's what I would say. I think that it's not really a cookie unless it's crisp. Well, cookies are different, but it's close to cake. It's a cousin. It's in the family, you know? Oopsie. Okay, that looks like that. And this, where the fuck is it? Oh, what have I done? Oh, there we go. Okay. Alright, I got it. I see. Yeah, if it gets you out of bed. I think it's good to do something you like first thing in the morning for a whole bunch of reasons. Oh, yeah, pain. That's where I can't stand politics and the way people act when politics become involved. Some discomfort is okay or necessary, but not what we disabled get. Yeah, so the issue with pain is it's supposed to be a signal for you to do something. And if you can do absolutely nothing because of the environment that you're in not giving you a reasonable path to do reasonable actions that would address the thing that you're supposed to do something about, like the pain signal is responding to, or the fear or danger threat signal for that matter, then what are you supposed to do? So I have some amount of disability, okay? I don't love talking about it in those terms because of my public around me definitely not knowing what I mean by that. Like, I have impairments. They are disabling. I think in general I have areas of ability that if I were able to stick in those and use other tools, I'm not very impaired under those conditions. Getting to those conditions, on the other hand, is a big problem. So because we don't have them established, and some of the ways that I want to exist, an able-bodied person, let me put it this way, a neurologically able person who doesn't have the disabilities that I do, doesn't have the impairment that I do, would find that to be crazy and inefficient, or would even create problems for them to think that way or to operate that way because they have this other system intact that I don't have. And what I have to explain to people is, like, think of it, this is only an analogy, but I think it would get people to, like, kind of, like, retool their models. So if you have somebody that is born without the use of their lower limbs, either they don't exist on their body plan, or they do not respond to their brain, so they can't use their lower limbs. And then this person has lived their whole life like that and has developed phenomenal ways of moving using their torso and arms, right? Like, the entire developmental history of this person, their brain has been mapping how to move like that. They probably have really cool, interesting ways of moving, right? That a typically developed body would never need, and would even might be afraid of having to try to put themselves in that situation because it seems so alien to them that it's just impossible for them to imagine. But you shouldn't be like, and therefore use your legs, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, that would be just, it's not even cruel or abusive or anything or inconsiderate. That's just crazy, right? Like, you're just like, well, the fuck? Like, that's a crazy thing to try to impose on somebody in that scenario. So I'm suggesting that the way that the brain develops in people with neurodevelopmental conditions, so it's present at birth and is present, I mean, prior to birth, you know, like, who knows how early in our development this really can be traced back. It doesn't even matter. right? So it's just present throughout the entire lifespan and is part of how my brain wired. I wired to compensate for this. And not even that, but like I've got like the phenomenal use of the arms. I have phenomenal use of certain regions of my brain, and that's what I need to use. So that can be very, very confusing, I think, for somebody who has a brain that is typically developed and all of these areas are equally intact, and some of the areas that I'm strong in are not developed or overdeveloped in the way that mine may be, but for a good reason, for a functional reason. So like I understand the confusion of that. That's a very odd situation, but the problem is that I'm not getting to do all of the things necessary in order to not experience just completely unnecessary discomfort. Like it doesn't make sense for me to have to approach things with a disabled part of my brain. It doesn't make sense. It's not gonna suddenly start working. It doesn't work. The brain doesn't work like that. It's really not that it's not magic up here. It's not fucking sparkles up here. It's material reality up here. We also do that in our brain if parts are actually missing, compensating stuff like that is so cool. It's super cool. It's amazing. I'm grateful. And also, what I want people to know is that the regions of my brain that I rely on are regions that everybody with typically developing brains also uses, but they have different relationships between that region of their brain and the regions that are impaired for me than I will ever have or have ever experienced or can even imagine. I don't really get it. However, they can relate to me if they want to. It's just like it's a little bit of that region plus a whole bunch of extra work, and I don't find it to be work because I have no other region to do it. So somebody would be like, wow, that seems like a lot. I'm like, it'd be a lot for you because your brain has, you know, the metaphorical legs, right? So yeah, it sounds like a lot for somebody to move with their arms all the time or something to somebody who can't do that because they didn't develop along those lines at all. That wasn't the body plan available to them, right? And my brain body plan available to me is different, and I need to follow it, right? It's just infinitely more appropriate to do that. But also, like, ultimately, some of the tools that we develop as autistics will be useful to people who are typically developing, because we're talking about similar brain regions that are not impaired and can therefore, you know, respond similarly to the tools or interventions or environmental aids that we may use. So we need more of those and not be stuck in an environment that suits a typically developing person who has their brain organized in a different fashion, where different activities are accomplished by different regions that may never be available to certain people, or people can lose their ability to use it via illness and traumatic brain injury. So like, it's just know that your brain is material reality. And sometimes when people try to talk about, like, politically, they'll use this as like an identity issue. And first of all, identity is not very well defined anyway. But I'm like, no, I have a physical issue. But the primary issues that I experience physically are inside of my skull. And that makes it very difficult for people to see. It's very small. So even like trying to get it on a brain scan would be expensive. We don't do that for people. We don't look for fine-tooth comb level differences in neurology. That'd be cool, but we don't. So we have to rely on symptomology. We have to rely on behavior to figure out what's going on with people. And for me, it's like, I just want you to know that, like, these tools will give us better behavior in society, better outcomes in our lives, but the tools have to be developed. So this peer support model is like one place to develop tools and to talk about the frustration of where we are with that, which is kind of far back because we've relied on neuroscience being good enough for typically developing people while still being kind of abusive to them. And now we're in an extreme explosion of remodeling neuroscience to be more accurate. And most people don't know that. Most people are still trapped in older models that we're trying to locate the remnants of kind of like, Europe in its colonial fever dream. Right? Like, a lot of the things that people were looking for within the brain were supposed to match the ambitions of a certain ideology that told Europeans to take over other countries because divine mandate from God. like that's where this shit came out of, which is fine, because it's like, it had to come from, like, history had to come from somewhere, whatever, but then you move on, you update and you look critically at that, and just keep looking at it critically, and whatever. If we all could have, I think most people, if they could have come from Earth B, where we weren't so fucking stupid, we probably would have, but we don't get to choose that, so we're stuck with this, and that's okay. So sometimes we have to have long conversations with people, as those who have neurodevelopmental conditions that dramatically change how we approach life. Cool. It's cool. We're fine. Yeah, I was thinking about politics this morning, really, and like hyperpolarization. So I think that most of the time, what I'm seeing, and I think we're probably all going to be somewhat on the same page with this, because it's not subtle what's happening, and if somebody calls it out, I think mostly people feel relieved. What we currently have when it comes to politics is a lot of people who don't have money using the internet to become financially stable by exploiting audiences of people who may have worse economic situations than the person who's doing the streaming or the YouTube videos or the essays. Okay? So we're basically like eating each other for fuel. And the people that get very famous off of that do not care if many people in their audience are incapacitated due to disability and illness. They don't care. They don't care. They don't care because they need the numbers. They're looking for numbers because that's how you get money. Attention is money, and there you go. So that's what's happening. It would take an incredible level of maturity to acknowledge that. And there's people that are old as shit who can't acknowledge that, because they're not going to ever undercut this feeling of making it. I made it. I'm big. It doesn't matter who's in the audience. I don't have to care past a certain point. My due diligence doesn't matter. I have money and I'm fine, and I have money and I'm fine. And that's where we are. So you can't trust that scenario to come out with anything you really need. That's not what they're doing. They're looking out for number one, period. So that's just how it is. Now, the reason that's just how it is because we don't have a reliable way of earning income in the current era, and people's ability to predict what the hell is going on with this concept of money, fiat currency. We don't know what the hell is going on. So I get it. Like, to find any stability whatsoever, you're not going to question it. You're not going to question who you're manipulating, abusing, exploiting, taking advantage of, which is a lot of people who can't really work. So a lot of the YouTube audience, the Twitch audience, is people who are disabled or children because they can't fucking work. That's not cool to be like, ooh, oh goody, you're watching your phone again. Oh yay. Well, why are they stuck on the phone so much? Why are they stuck watching you so much? It's not because you're fascinating, it's because their lives are stuck. So a lot of people would rather believe that they're fucking fascinating. They're not. We're just stuck. We have no better option because we can't do anything in this current society to have a more meaningful, fulfilling life that leads to financial stability. That's why it's happening. And every single creator that doesn't acknowledge that because they want to think that they're actually that amazing is doing everybody who watches them a fucking disservice. That's what I'm telling you. It's, yeah. They need money. Their primary motivator isn't money. Their primary motivator is like the initiators that they need money. Does that make sense? You try it because you need money. You bother because you need money, right? But what keeps you going is this idea that, like, actually you're very useful and important. When most of your audience is only watching you because they don't have a better option, maybe that's not true. Just a consideration. When most of your audience is watching you because a bunch of advertisers designed the internet to keep them on their phones because that makes it more likely that they see their ads and you're part of that, it's not because you're fascinating. It's not because you're God's gift to humanity. It's not any of that. And that's really tough for any human being to take, I guess. But it's just, you ain't shit. I ain't shit. You ain't shit. They ain't shit. And they're not helping. Now, I guess some people think they're helping, and that's super cool that they think they're helping. I love that for them. But if people were really in a better place, they wouldn't be watching them at all. If you are in a better place, you wouldn't need to watch me either, right? I'm trying to get us to that better place so that you don't have to hardly ever watch anything because you're too busy doing things with your life that you love, that you've learned all you need to learn, that you're not stuck trying to learn and trying to learn again and trying to learn again and trying to learn again because you're not learning what you need to actually solve a problem, right? So let's talk about that and think about that and just make that the basis of everything. If you're not walking away able to do more from this space, I am failing you. Period. I'm failing you. And you should have that high of a standard. And that doesn't mean anything bad about me. It's just is what it is. Like, you either address the problem or you don't, right? It's either helping or it's not. That's really the cutoff. And you're either committed to trying to be a helper or you're not. And most of the people that are doing politics, bullshit that they're committed to being helpers. I think they're full of shit. I think they're lying about that because it's nicer to be a person that's a helper in society. So it's a lot of people, they're just writing that, and that's my opinion of it, like I just think that's what it is. So he's basically become like the Borg from Star Trek, so desensitized, constantly needing to be validated with a misguided sense of self-importance. Yeah, self-importance is interesting as a phenomenon, but like, are you helping the people watching you? Are you actually helping the people watch you? Can you help the people watching you? Can you help them? Because ultimately, all you can really do is help yourself. Right? And in so doing, you may get some insights that might help other people, and then you can share them. But ultimately, you're your own laboratory. You're your own little hypothesis testing loop. So make hypothesis, test them, share your results. That's the best you can do. That's the best you can do for anybody. And if you think you're really onto something, or you because you found out a whole bunch of other people built something, together, and you want to increase people's awareness that thing is over there for them to also look at and learn about, yeah, then share your enthusiasm for it, share your excitement. But this whole like, just your life should be getting better. Your life should be getting better. Your life should be getting better. If I am helping, your life should be getting better. And if it's not, I'm not the right person to help. But I'm going to say that somebody is. And it's not me. I don't need your money. I don't need your views. I don't do this for money. First of all, I don't know how the fuck to get money either. I don't know. I don't get this. This system is falling apart. And I shouldn't have to worry about like... shit that I know isn't going to help other people and do that to try to help myself? Why should I pick those options? Why? The options aren't good enough. I'm not picking them. I'm not. I will yell about them a little bit here and there, like I'm currently doing, but that's it, right? Like that's all I can say is that I don't believe in that. That's not cool. And if you're able to work with me to do peer support stuff, then please, let's do it. Let's go. But I'm concerned, when somebody has an audience full of people that have very limited resources, are not getting attention on symptoms and signs of other difficulties, impairments, illnesses, and they're stuck on their phone all the time because of those impairments and illnesses. And the person using that has no curiosity about it. If anything, people are just concerned about the stalkers that you can get out of this system, which you absolutely can get, but those people also need help. Like, this is the problem that I'm having, is like, we're going to have a revolution in mental health support. We're going to. It should include AI. It should include people that are putting themselves on camera, because we need to find other people that seem to be okay for us to feel safe. So if you are being that person, if you are creating that feeling of safety, and often people do that through politics, they create a feeling of safety by saying, we are the ones who know, they are the ones that don't, hang out with us. If you hang out with us, then you'll know and you'll be safe. You'll know what's going on. I'll reduce uncertainty for you. We'll be fine. If everybody just did what I said, we'll be fine. We all do that. Even right this second, there's some amount of that when I'm explaining my model, and if it makes sense to you, it's helping you to calm down. You're like, okay, that makes a little bit of sense, because we're just trying to model the world accurately. That's what we can't lose sight of, the fact that we're just trying to model the world accurately so that we can have a sense of what to do when. We have a sense of where to go and where not to go. We have a sense of what's working and what's not working. And if you're coming to my peer support space, I'm going to assume you're having some problems around a neurotypical model of what's working not applying to you, right? And being done with trying to make it apply to you. Again, it's like that metaphor of saying that if somebody was born without the use of their legs and their entire developmental trajectory meant figuring out how to use their arms instead, and they have this phenomenal way of moving through the world, and somebody says, oh, I don't like that because it's not how I move. We have to have the ability to stand up for ourselves, and sometimes just being in a group of people that say that that's real can help you to think of new ways to stand up for yourself, and then to do something as simple as saying, I'm going to do this differently. Hey, I'm going to let you know that I'm doing it differently, so I'm not, confusing to you, neurotypical person or typically developed person. I'm going to try something different. This is why I'm trying something different. I have a developmental difference in my brain that I'm trying to address successfully. Now you are able to have some predictions around the fact that I'll be doing this and trying this out. And the whole goal of it is that you have an improvement in your quality of life. Their quality of life isn't interrupted either. They may in fact get something really important and profound out of you doing that. And this is what I want. This is what I want for everybody who comes through to this peer support space and finds it useful, right? Is for you to find your own way through that process, for this to make sense and connect to you, and you to feel safe because you're designing and engineering interventions that appropriately address your impairments, right? Nobody can do that for you. All that people can do is reassure you that that's possible, which I will do, and then share what they're doing. And then you'll get ideas. So I'll share what I'm doing. Like, this thing is something that I made in The Sims to help me visualize my week. And I'm renaming it because I was calling it a spatial calendar at first, but now it's a mental time travel. I can't fit that. Mental time traveler theory. That's what it's now called. So, so now I have this thing. And I'm looking at my week. I think... Yeah, we can clip that. I think you're able... I think I can clip it. I think you might be able to clip it. Let me know what you want clipped in the Discord, and I'll make a clip of that. Right. I had a teeny tiny burp. That was quite cute. Okay, so just checking my schedule. Looking at my work email, or I have two work emails at this point, but that's wild. Okay, so I've been working on, let me look at this. Great. Great. All right, so next Monday. Wonderful. Yes, let me change this on my calendar. Great. I'm starting a little bit earlier for work to do stuff. Yeah, I'll if you can help me figure out the timestamp, that would be fire. I'll also try to look at it and figure it out, but I'm not entirely sure where you would like me to start, so it would be better if you can let me know at least where to start. And then I can, if you can, you might even be able to clip it though. I'm not quite sure. I know that I can, but you might also be able to. Okay. Okay, yes. All right. Great. I messed that up. And this is tomorrow. Yes. Cool. Alright, so I have a meeting tomorrow at 11. Okay, let me put that here. I'm gonna have to start adding things back. Without having come across you and others more like us, if you offline in the before times, I doubt I would have survived this far. Yeah, I understand. Yes. And where we go from here is going to be part conversation, part testing, part learning, right? So talking to each other is very valuable. I don't know why we undervalue that. Well, because of what talking has become, but sadly. But what we'll be doing is talking to each other about important things that are happening currently, and then we'll be spending time working on solutions, testing them out, either ones that we already, brought up when we were having that discussion that we were working on, or maybe refined during the process of that discussion. And then it's going to be just independently learning. There is nothing wrong with being an autodidact, for one. For two, you have to. For three, don't be embarrassed about teaching yourself. Like, you have to start somewhere, and we have more access to experts than we've ever had in any other point in human history. And now you can even go on to ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to refine your search for you. Be like, are there books specifically on this that are well respected in their fields? That's amazing. That's new. So using the tools that we have available, as well as respectfully using some of the new ways that maybe computer intelligence is going to create infrastructure for those of us who have impairments. Like, respect that, be kind the entire way through. You're going to be able to have an imagination that is more productive than it was before. And imagination gets undervalued in our society as if it's childish. No, it's not. It's how you come up with ideas. And you don't need a fancy degree to use your imagination. Do you know what scientists are doing? Do you know what theorists are doing? Do you know what sociologists are doing? They're using their imagination. That's it. They've just been trained on a lexicon and a history that is their specific discipline, and then they just use their imagination. That's all they're fucking doing. So you have no reason to feel intimidated by that. You have no reason to be hoodwinked by people who are using their imagination and pseudoscience either. Use good sources, but yes, train your imagination. That's what you're doing. And then use your imagination. There was never anything wrong with your imagination. The only time people shit on it is when they realize that your imagination is going to start making you ask some questions that they don't want anyone to ask. Because they don't have the fucking answers. Because they're using pseudoscience or ideologies or hokey woo-wah-woo. And I'm not a big fan of that. I do not like abuse. I do not like manipulation. I do not like exploitation. I do not like torture. I do not like violence. I do not like any of that shit. I don't like it. Violence is when you tell somebody that reality is other than it is and you let them get hurt. If it ain't that, that's called an accident. If you get hurt by accident, that's one thing. If you mislead people because you realize on some level that reality disagrees with the plan that you just set into motion, and you know people are going to get hurt because reality is going to say no, then that's on you, bro. Pisses me off. That's not power, that's abuse. That's lying. And I don't care if you lie to yourself to get there. Still lying. So be a helper. Take apart ideologies. Use your creativity. Use your curiosity. Find people that you respect and admire. Mr. Rogers is a boss. I'm going to keep always saying, Mr. Rogers, Mr. Rogers. I like Mr. Rogers. He's cool. So just know that there's like, he's over that way. Which way is he? Wait. That way. There he is. Oh, no, you didn't upset me. Wait, no. You're fine. I have autism, you know. I'm just like going on a rant. I wasn't addressing that at you. I know almost never address something at a person. I'm talking to like I'm talking to like a hypothetical universe of ideas always, not people. Poor Kyle. Like he has to deal with that more than anybody else, and poor guy. Good God. Yeah, you didn't upset me. I'm just like, I was thinking about this since this morning, and like I have a little soapbox that I definitely pull out. Yeah, thank you for asking though, because sometimes it can be confusing. I give totally the wrong signals when it comes to this. Is my appointment at 11 or 12? Now I don't remember. I think it's at 11. I think it's at 11. Okay. The Super Scorpio will be fine. Good. Yeah. Sometimes I'm like not picking up on. He's great. He's cool. Okay, well then he'll be fine. I'll trust you. Okay, this got moved, so let's adjust. Oh, you know what I could do? Ooh, I just realized something I could do. I could just take the muni while I'm in the meeting. Oh. And then this can get moved to here. Wait, if that's at 2. Yeah, no. It's totally possible. No, because we're starting at 2:30. Right? 2:34. Yeah, we're starting at 2:30, so I should make a note of when it starts. Let me put like a little line across there. I think I can put like a gate. Like this. Oops. Oh God. That's not what I wanted to do. I want to do it like this. Oh, that's not it. That's the wrong one. Oh no. I did it wrong. I did it wrong. People, ISD people giving wrong signals socially, almost like we're impaired. Yeah. Well, and like I don't realize, here's what happens with me. I don't realize that what I'm doing is related to a social signal. I know that sounds quite odd, but what will, and I mean, I know Hokey Man's also like autistic, so it's like, they get it. But what ends up happening is one of the ways that I've compensated for not, let me think about how I want to say this. One of the ways that I've compensated for not making sense socially is by, oh shit, okay, hold on. Using explanation to make sense, right? So then I'm like, oh my God, I'm making sense because I'm explaining things. And sometimes I think that I'm making sense socially because I'm doing a good job explaining something, but that wasn't the point of the current interaction. And then I'm like super jazzed about explaining, and it's like I'm not realizing that what I am explaining is not socially salient, and therefore people are going to be like, what's happening? And I'm like, I'm sorry. I just launched into a TED Talk that you did not buy tickets for. Shit. And then I don't know what to do because that is all that I was doing. Okay, so that's the working on stuff time. Cool, that looks good. And then there's a little bit at the end. I think it goes to like there. More or less. Yeah, okay, that should be about right. Okay. I'm working on it though. Like, I'm working on like, I don't think I can how do I put this? I need maybe not a disclaimer. I need something to like signify that I know what that is, and then to let people know what it is a little bit better and explain that part. So I need to explain how I'm explaining better. The problem is that there's not enough explanation. You see? That's the problem. You're like, Jane. All right, it's 9:17. I do think I'm gonna go till 9:45, just as an FYI. Let's see here. Okay. I'm just looking at this for a second. Give me a momento. Is there like a 64 by 64 that's bigger than this and easier to see? I'm gonna go look through all the worlds and just assess that. I don't think so. Yeah, that's even smaller. This doesn't have a 64, does it? No. Does this? But I think that if it does, it's gonna be tiny. And it also doesn't. So it doesn't even matter. Okay. What about this one? That's a 64 by 64, but that's pretty small, and I don't think they're gonna let me replace that. I don't think. Yeah, that's a 50 by 50. That's a 50. Oh, I thought it was a 64. It's not. This doesn't have one. Does this have one? I don't think so. No. I don't think Glimmerbrook has a 64. It does not. Sulani might? No, it does not. Okay. I'm just seeing if there's like a map where the thing would be closer. And see, that one's even further back, so that's not it. Salva whatever. That's pretty close. But I made that into that instead. Huh. That's pretty big, though. Let me just compare this. See, that would be bigger. So that's an option. What else is there? That's a 64 by 64. I still think Selva Dorado is bigger. Yeah, it totally is. Shit. Maybe I have to do this. But then the Autism Tofu Warehouse, which I think I put into a different game anyway, so I think I'm fine. Let's look over here. Did I look here already? I did. Okay. Forgotten Hollow, no. And then... Oh, so that's what that means. Yeah, social cues, right? Ha ha. Yeah, right, buddy. This one's big, but not 64 by 64. This doesn't have a 64. New Crest doesn't. Yeah, it's 50 by 40. And then Oasis does? Oh, but that's something else. I don't have to worry about that right now. And then Willow Creek. Okay. Which has not one. Okay. Well, I have many game files. First of all, what is in this game? I don't even fucking know. Not much. Okay, well in that case, I think I've put the Autism Tofu Warehouse in a different game. You want to listen to the end of this thing with me? Of course you do. It won't make any sense, but I need to finish it. So, because I think I have a meeting after this. Library. Space-time and the hippocampus.
Interesting part of this, of course, is that in that trajectory, there is information about memory. Not about only memory. In memory allows you also to make predictions.
Yep.
So you can read out from this trajectory whether the animal is going to the right or going to the left. So I'm showing an example. This is what we already heard this morning. That is the discovery by Emma Wood and Howard Eichenbaum that to left and right. And again, the sound is not doing what it should. But take my word, there are cells that fire preferentially when the animal will make a right turn and when the animal will make a left turn. And if we have enough number of neurons, what you see here is every line is the firing rate of a single neuron, and the columns are, there are many, many lines here, there are different neurons, and these are the same neuron identities on the two panels, selected into two groups depending on whether they went to the right or went to the left. And what you can see is that you can take a slice of time anytime you want, and you can predict whether the animal will go to the right or left 20 seconds, sometimes to 15, 20 seconds ahead, including errors with 90% accuracy if you have enough number of neurons. Now, this is okay, but the reason why I brought this in is now it's an interesting situation. With the same exact trajectory, you can get three types of information. One is that you can say which direction the animal is going. That's the what. You can also calculate how long the animal, how distant, what is the distance the animal travels. Because from the trajectory, you can always say what is the distance you traveled, as well as the duration of the travel. So in just one trajectory, you can get the three types of information that we were looking for, three different coding systems: time, distance, and the what situation. So this is what ignited or motivated Howard Eichenbaum to say, if there are place cells, let me tease the community and say place cells are in fact time cells. And he is right, but it doesn't mean that
that's what I thought.
Everybody else is wrong, because time and space are probably meaning pretty much the same.
Yep.
In fact, here's a good example. This is a nice time cell, if you want. And then when you look at the distances that are associated with, they are different, radically different. But if you look at the three different groups, you can see, in one case the animal was slow, the other times it was faster. So when you have speed and you have good speed resolution, time and distance and duration are perfectly equivalent. There may be a difference.
That's what I thought about distance and duration. So we must. Oh, good. I'm glad somebody did that, because I was looking at another study and they didn't look at that issue of like, you must know that you're moving at a certain rate, and you must have some sense of like moving faster and how much more distance you should be covering. Okay, anyways, neither here nor there.
Different types of neurons in the hippocampus are sensitive to the vestibular input, or neck muscle input, or optic flow, or something that tells you something about the speed or velocity of running.
Yes, thank you. I thought so.
Now we have distance, we have duration, and we have theta cycle. And the interesting thing, of course, the theta is intrinsic. You can call it a timer, but in fact, there is no good reason, because it's a cyclic thing. But let's see how the three different things relate to the place fields. There are 6 place cells here, color-coded, and you can make it out a little bit that the black one has mostly firing at the beginning, and the red one at the end, and they have place fields. But the place fields from trial to trial shift a little bit, and they are lousy related to when you look at the trial to trial relationship. and this is organized by distance. You can organize it also by how much time elapsed from the beginning of the trial, and then this is pretty bad also. But if you look at what happens within the theta cycle, cycle by cycle, you can see it by eye that it's a different world. So we can say, oh, the internal timer, sorry to use the word timer, is indeed a different thing, because it brings together things in an organized way. But neurons in the brain have no clue what's happening in the outside world, at least not at the time scale, with single theta cycle. So now the interesting thing is, of course, is that we've got a theory, we've got a fantastic map, a cognitive map,
10 more minutes of this.
but it's an abstract map. The important thing to know is, how is this map translated into action? And that's the key thing, because without knowing how downstream neurons, downstream classifiers, downstream readers utilize the information, that information is not information in the sense because it's only for you, means something, nothing to the brain. So if you're interested how to do that, I suggest that you look at the David Tingley's poster and see what happens in the lateral septum that is reading out the hippocampal map. It's tomorrow. So now let's go back to my favorite list. And he said, aha, there is a long list here. Everything is negotiable. We don't know whether consciousness is such the way it is. We don't know whether sensation, emotion, attentions are. These are all man-made or human-made ideas. Mm-hmm. And maybe perception of time and perception of space is pretty much the same thing. Mm-hmm. Now, you can see that it's called perception of time. The problem with it is that we don't have sensors to perceive either time or space. So from first principles, there is no way to understand space from the outside in approach, but by the empiricist way. So there is a further problem, of course. It's not only that the brain does not perceive space or time, it cannot make space or time either. Right? So there is, I mentioned it already. On the other hand, we do have sensors for certain things. Velocity can be measured. We have head direction and we have speed information. So that's a first principle that we can use. And
perfect.
Now we have a very interesting situation, because
much easier to see.
What we do is, I already explained to you, that we measure a relationship between what's happening in the world, what happens in the brain, and that is information. The relationship is available for the experimenter, and the experimenter quantifies these observations against an instrument or instruments that were made by other humans. So the human is a double agent, because it is also trying to understand the to be explained and those things that explain. It's called the explanans and the explanandum in Aristotelian logic, and we mix them up. So how we can do a little bit better? We have to be careful about how we translate our observations, because if you mix up the explanans and the explanandum, this is what you may get. Namely, even if in your observation you can see a very nice temporal sequence of something, it doesn't mean that is the same thing as the representation of a sequence, which would be time. I hope that at least some of you in the audience understood this.
Yeah.
So now
let me go back. So sequence representation. This is what I'm talking about with autism.
That were made by other humans.
This is the issue.
So the human is a double agent, because it is also trying to understand the to be explained and those things that explain. It's called the explanans and the explanandum in Aristotelian logic, and we mix them up. So how we can do a little bit better? We have to be careful about how we translate our observations, because if you mix up the explanans and the explanandum, this is what you may get. Namely, even if in your observation you can see a very nice temporal sequence of something, it doesn't mean that is the same thing as the representation of a sequence, which would be time. I hope that at least some of you in the audience understood this.
Yes.
So now at least we can revisit the initial problem and said, what is episodic memory? What is the right definition? And of course, I don't have a right definition, but I have something. So we have to take out space and time from here. And then we can say, well, here's my substitute, which is a sequence. There are sequences in the brain. The brain just comes. And then we can say, well, here's my substitute, which is a sequence. There are sequences in the brain. The brain just can't help it. Just sequential order. So sequential order multiplied with the what? It gives you something like this. So episodic memory is an ordered sequence of a translation in the real what. So it is like a little bit in Buddhist philosophy, is that the world is nothing else but a series of nows. You are always in the now. So this morning I've said, Neil showed a nice quote from...
I disagree with this in that, like, I wonder how he'll deal with this, is complexity. So you're in a series of nows that reference past nows in order to establish complexity. So if the complexity is increasing, then we have a representation of time as complexity. And this gets into like something that I've been noodling with a little bit that I want to noodle with more, which is like shape dynamics as a model of physics and time, where we're calling time like an increase in complexity, and that scale isn't as important as shape. A really simple way to make that argument is that I've found is like if you have a really beautiful dollhouse and you have a chair that is this big, we understand that it's a chair even though it's this big. And even like we're saying that we care about shape so much that like we'll even understand what that is regardless of how functional it is, because if it's that small, the function of a person sitting in it isn't going to happen. You could have a teeny tiny person sit in it, you know, like a little doll of a person. Even you could represent sitting in this chair, but you could have something using, you know, basically this all the same materials. And then so then if we're moving through time, quote unquote time, and it really is just a representation of complexity, then we have some ability to connect past nows into the current now by understanding how the relationships that we've observed have increased in complexity thanks to our continuing observation of them. So by observing an event and then another event and understanding that the relationships are becoming more complex via this vehicle that we call time, then we are able to create models that become more sophisticated throughout the duration of our lives. So by the end of our life, assuming that our brain hasn't started to deteriorate, we will have this model of complexity, allowing for the fact that our brains are very limited, but we'll have this model of complexity that is much more refined and hopefully accurate than initially, just by virtue of comparing like even our prior abilities to model complexity to our current abilities to model complexity. So all of it, and like AI would be phenomenal at this, better than us, right? So already is in many ways. So then like this is where I would disagree with him, because it's like it's not really a series of nows, it's a series of it's a series of models that can comment on the fact that they are a series of models. So it's a series of models that, by being that series of models, means something about the universe. And we only see a sliver of that, but by applying our ability to understand patterns, our pattern recognition, our acknowledgement that shapes matter, right? Like the shape defines something specific. So a tiny chair is still a chair. Our ability to recognize that can then move into these more abstract representations, these more abstract concepts, these more abstract activities and calculations, and then give us information that is really complex about the universe, even though we're starting from a very simple ability that gets very complex in humans because of our ability to create extremely complex tools that then make the universe even more complex for us to navigate. So like ultimately we're navigating the universe to get away from danger and towards safety and hopefully reproduce and all this stuff that is established way before we even got to the point of language and tools. So we have these goals that are pretty basic, but because our world is so complex, it requires us to have these more complex goals that are very abstract. And those are not just the now. They no.
From Tennessee Williams, it was the other way around. It said, the now is so small and so short, we can never notice it. It's only the past and the future. Well, Buddhist philosophy is just the other way around. So I have to tell you one more thing, which is very important, and this is it. So when we study the hippocampus,
the past and the future are both models of complexity. The past and the future are current models of complexity. One of them is looking at data that we already have, and one of them is predicting. That's all. But they're both a model of complexity as we currently understand it. And even our current understanding of our ability to understand, we have that modeled as well. That's sort of, I guess, self-awareness, but how good do we think we are at modeling the complexity of the universe that we live in? How accurate do you think we can get? How much more accurate do we think we can get even? How good can we get? We have a model of that as well, potentially, or I hope we do. And then how reliable are my predictions? How reliable can my predictions get? And I think we're motivated to make them more reliable and more accurate. And that defines kind of our lives, potentially, the meaning of life for us, besides for procreate, die, all that stuff. Eat, procreate, die.
And
besides that,
Manovita is looking at this figure very carefully because he contributed many part of this. Said,
because of the complexity.
It does matter where you are recording from, because the hippocampus is just a sausage. It's just a appendage to the large neocortex. What it does is bidirectionally communicates with the large neocortex, and it represents whatever happens in the neocortex. But what happens in the neocortex in a rodent is quite different than in a larger brain. So there are colors here. You can see this is ventral quadrant of the hippocampus, which is tiny. This is what is connected to the prefrontal cortex, the amygdala, the hypothalamus, and so on. And this gets huge. This becomes the uncus and the body of the primate hippocampus, because the neocortex is no longer only about motor and sensory function, but there is a large non-aligned territory, which is, by the way, called association cortex, because of the British empiricist. The term comes from this historical root. So now it's an interesting thing, campus, because the neocortex is no longer only about motor and sensory function, but there is a large non-aligned territory, which is, by the way, called association cortex, because of the British empiricist. The term comes from this historical root. So now it's an interesting thing, because wherever people put an electrode, this is one thing, but it's very important thing is that how we set up a situation, how we set up the experiment. If we set up to get an answer about space, we got a space answer. If you set it about time, we get another one, and another one. If it's about varying tones, then it will be varying tones. And in other words, the hippocampus is completely blind to modalities. It doesn't know what information is coming in. All it knows that something came in, I have to report back, and it uses probably the same exact algorithm. Doesn't.
So go back on that one more time. Hold on.
About time, we get another one, and another one. If it's about varying tones, then it will be varying tones. And in other words, the hippocampus is completely blind to modalities. It doesn't know what information is coming in. All it knows that something came in, I have to report back, and it uses probably the same exact algorithm. Doesn't. So what is the generic function of the hippocampus then, if it's not about any of these things? So the generic function would be something that is universal. The hippocampus does it all the time, and this may be it, which is succession of events. So you can say from the bottom up or inside out way that let's see what the hippocampal mechanisms are, and then give names to it. So the hippocampus is a general purpose generator that can encode something, maybe the content limited ordinal structure that ties the gap between things and events and so on. And this is, of course, exactly what episodic memory is about. So you can also say it in a different way, that the episodic memory is a succession of events, and so on. But it's not perfectly my idea. You can find nice papers in the literature, such as from Davachi's lab. It's a wonderful thing about sequences. Larry Squire, Maguire, or Maguire has this wonderful story about the amnesic taxi driver that can do a lot of things except generate sequences. It cannot put the right order to get home or from one place to another. And Lina Foskovich, and also, of course, Howard Eichenbaum, who talked about sequences. So to end the story, said, well, what would happen if you take out space and time from the equation? How we describe the hippocampus, and how we describe the hippocampus, its relationship with the rest of the world, or rest of the brain, or especially the neocortex. So here's a metaphor, which is the hippocampus is a librarian. It generates sequences, but the sequences are very helpful because the sequences are pointers to the what's, and the what's are in the books in the neocortex. But of course, the search
Bookends.
in a library,
Holy shit.
A library is only as good as its searchability. You need something to be searched very quickly, and that's what the hippocampus would be very helpful, because it would point exactly where the books are, where things are important. And they are back at least 40 years or 30 years in time to Tyler and Dishena, whose indexing theory or indexing hypothesis is probably very much relevant to what we are talking about today.
Wow.
So I'd like to leave you with this
That's hilarious.
claim, without much support, that we can understand the brain as an independent variable, and we start classifying the words that are made up by humans and modify them, just like it has been done in computer science, genetics, and in every other science that exists, physics, except neuroscience. Thank you very much.
That's fucking hilarious. I've always described my brain as like a little librarian. That's hilarious. So are you saying that if you have messed up visual spatial working memory, aka wow, then that supercharges your episodic and semantic memory, and it feels like you're a librarian? Holy shit. I've had this metaphor forever. This metaphor emerged when I was a child. Ha! I am... Oh my god. Bookends is right. He just said book. He just used my metaphor. I mean, first of all, it didn't have to work out like that. I'm just saying that it's a fucking good metaphor. So that's why you have somebody else using it. Because it's oh. I have another one to watch, but wow. Ha 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 ha. Dude. Alright, well, thanks for coming. Thanks for coming to my stream. I'm a weirdo, but I'm gonna figure this out. Bookends. Always do bookends. Ha! I got more to read and study because book. Because I don't have enough books in my library, so I'm a librarian that's gonna go get more books now. I'm gonna order some books, and then read the books, and then know where to put the books. Holy shit. Okay, alright, bye everyone. See you tomorrow if you can come. 8 o'clock. Bye!